WEFM is SVG.
Minutes on to 11 o'clock here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You're locked on to WEFM 99.9, the clean, fresh sound. And this is your It's Your Turn program. Remember, It's Your Turn is an interactive program. So the numbers to call are 457-9997 if you're calling from a local landline, 532-9997 if you're calling from a digital cell phone, or you can call us or send us a message on WhatsApp at 457-9997. The It's Your Turn program is being hosted by Mr. Cecil Ryan and Mr. Philbert John. Good morning to you, Cecil.
Good morning to you, Karen, and good morning to Philbert, and good morning to all our listeners on the WEFM platform and, of course, on the Star FM and Garifuna Radio. We hope that everybody's doing well this morning. I didn't greet Joel in studio because we haven't seen him yet, and we hope he'll be here. But wherever he is on his way out home, greetings to you, Joel, and greetings to everyone. It's good to be in studio on another It's Your Hand program. I apologize for our late start this morning. It's entirely my fault. I left late and got here late, and that is why we are beginning. My apology. And with that, we are ready to go. And as usual, we hope you would be in with us as part of the WEFM It's Your Turn family. As I keep saying, it's a family affair, and I hope that you would be in conversation with us this morning. This morning, we want to look at the estimate, and we're going to have an open mic. So gear up and be prepared to contribute to this discussion this morning. So, Philbert, over to you.
Cecil, thank you, and good morning. Good morning to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to all persons listening to WEFM wherever you are. It's good to be back as we engage you with another edition of It's Your Hand. And as usual, we attempt to bring you interesting discussion on issues relative to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We wish that you will listen, engage with us as we open the mics. And as Cecil said, it's an open mic forum, and we hope that you join us in our discussions. Cecil?
Yes, Pigeon. Well, all this month is Black History Month, as initiated and is defined largely by folks in the United States. And so we want to express solidarity with the month and what's happening in the month. There are some pieces that I have, video pieces that I've noticed. I have one later on to play in solidarity with Black History Month. And we hope you would take it in as when we play it later on. But for now, we want to update on anything special, Pigeon, for you? Anything you want to bring to their attention?
At the moment, Cecil.
Okay. Well, as I indicated earlier, Joel isn't here. At least he's not here yet. But in the meantime, what I would want to do is really read from the newspaper. In fact, in particular, the news newspaper on page 6, starting on page 6, and then it goes over to page 19. Is an article talking about the budget, the presentation of the estimate, sorry, not the budget, the estimate. And I want to read it in as much as it's, as I noted, it summarizes the contents of the estimates as presented last week, a week before actually, by Prime Minister Godwin Friday. And I am going to read it. It's a little bit long, but not too long because, you know, we need to read these things. All right, so it says, Prime Minister presents $1.89 billion estimates. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Godwin Friday, on last week, Thursday, presented estimates of revenue. Actually, that should be revenues according to the Constitution. Revenues and expenditure amounting to EC 1,885,609,965, an increase of 2% over the 2025 approved budget. This year's budgetary exercise is a mix of the former Unity Labour Party ULP administration's input and the current New Democratic Party NDP administration input, and in some cases, the latter's modified version, the NDP having swamped the ULP 14-1 in the November 27 general elections to return to office after 24 years. According to Friday, financing is expected to come from current revenue of $906,875,230 and capital receipts totaling $978,734,735. The Prime Minister said the current estimates, not including amortization and sinking fund contributions, amount to EC $1.01 billion. Current revenue is estimated at EC $906.9 million. I'm trying to find the continuation of the story. It's on page
19.
Page 19. And I had it organized and marked, but now I'm not seeing it. That's interesting. Oh yes, I now see it. Friday noted that there is a current deficit of 105.5 million. He said the challenge is to, quote, ensure that we can shrink those and make sure that we do so. And that is one of the tasks that we will set our minds to as we go forward, unquote. He said, quote, a slightly weaker revenue projection for 2026 is mainly on account of a 40% drop in the non-tax revenue occasioned by a $20 million reduction in the amount budgeted for reimbursements, unquote. Friday said the revenue from tax sources is expected to contribute EC $762.6 million and non-tax revenue to gross EC $144.3 million. According to Dr. Friday, tax revenue is expected to increase marginally by 0.7% due to taxes on international trade transactions expecting to increase by $4.5 million or 1.9%. And taxes on income and profits are expected to go up by 6.5% to EC $129 million. Non-tax revenue collected in 2026 is expected to be $144.3 million, coming mainly from the sale of goods and services, which is projected to generate EC $117.7 million in revenue. Non-tax revenue is also expected to come from inflows on property, income, fees, and fines. The total estimated current expenditure, inclusive of amortization and sinking fund contributions, is EC $1.31 billion. That is 13.7%, or $157.6 million above the 2025 budget. The current expenditure for 2026 comprises current expenditure of EC $1.012 billion. The amortization is EC $270.9 million with a sinking fund contribution of EC $25 million, so that the current expenditure is EC $1.308 billion. Amortization is up by 25.8% and sinking fund contributions by 13.6%. The 2026 budget increase includes the compensation of employees, which has increased by EC $39.1 million or 9.6%. Pensions have increased by 0.6% or EC $4.4 million, and transfers for training grants contribution to local or regional organizations are expected to go up by EC $27 million. Friday said EC $93.5 million is provided to pay pension for retired civil servants and the government counterpart contribution to the National Insurance Services for civil servants. This amount is comprised of $78.4 million for pensions and $15.1 million for NIS contributions. The 2026 capital the 2026 capital estimates will amount to EC $573.3 million, 17% or 17.4%, or EC $121 million lower than the original approved capital budget for 2025. So basically, that is in a nutshell the budget for 2026 as presented by the government, and in particular, Prime Minister Godwin Friday as the Minister of Finance. So Pijan, I just thought I'll read that summary, which would serve as a basis for our conversation this morning. If people have any questions in terms of what I read, I'm really willing to just go back and reread sections or that particular section that person may have any concerns over. So basically, that's it. And as we said at the very beginning, it's open mic. So if people want to call in and contribute to the discussion, you're welcome to, and we urge you to do so. But in the meantime, Pijan, any quick observation you want to share?
Is the overall context in which the estimates were presented, just following a general election. Mm-hmm. And we know the budget cycle tends to start sometime, I understand, in August.
Mm-hmm. The preparation of it.
The preparation. So how much of it should we credit to the previous administration, which would have started the process sometime before this new government took office? Mm-hmm. And to what extent should we credit the new government with new policies or programs that are reflected in the estimates? And at the same time, how much of it reflected the previous administration's effort since they had begun the cycle sometime before?
Well, yeah, Pijan, but against all of that, Pijan, my own view is that we have to also bear in mind that the budget as previously prepared by the previous administration, that part of the budget, was prepared against the background of a particular philosophy, which we have not yet heard articulated by the present government in terms of their own philosophy. We have listened to bits and pieces of things, and I think sometime in the past, perhaps not the distant past, I've heard Prime Minister Friday himself, as a candidate or in opposition, said that their philosophy is based on basically right of center, which is similar to what is being pursued, say, in places like I want, like Jamaica, possibly also, I am hesitant to say the US, but the US and the Conservative Party in the United States, Republican Party, I should say, and the ruling party in Jamaica, the ruling party here in Zimbabwe, they belong to the same philosophical foundation, the philosophical grouping. And so one can safely assume that our budget is formed or structured around those kind of principles as reflecting of the conservative. And although we haven't, as I said, it hasn't come out in the budget presentation, in the estimates presentation, hopefully it will come out in the budget presentation tomorrow. But we have to wait and see. But clearly, we have to look at the budget against its philosophical grounding, its philosophical outlook, because that is what would inform, in terms of the party behind the budget, whether or not we're going to have more, if quote unquote, assisted housing, reasonable health care, healthcare that doesn't have the character of a privatized kind of healthcare, more public, if you like. That is what's going to decide whether or not the government is going to contribute towards housing and education in the same way that the previous government did. Because I think it makes a difference in terms of the philosophy that your party, which forms the government, it makes a difference in terms of philosophy of your party. And we know for sure, and it was made clear several times that the ULP bases its philosophy on, has as its philosophy, social democracy, which is different than one that is guided by more conservative types, like the UK, well, not even the UK, but certainly Jamaica, the US, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make those express those views up front, Pijan, okay, so we are clear on what we can expect from what we have seen in the estimates, first of all, and then what we can expect from the budget presentation tomorrow. Because the budget is we have the estimate, yes, but the budget is what explains the whys and the what's about.
The appropriations bill.
Yes, which is number 70 in the Constitution, 70 subsection 2 is that appropriation bill route. Yes, sorry, Pijan.
I was saying that are we in a position to explain to our listeners the difference between the estimates?
Well, yeah, let's do that. Let's try.
And
the budget.
The budget,
yeah,
which is referred to officially as the appropriations bill.
Right. Yeah, I think we can do that.
I think while the estimates present mainly numbers as estimates of revenue, meaning an estimation of what is to be collected in terms of revenue from the various sources, and the expenditure, what is expected to be spent, having collected from the various sources. And so those are merely numbers.
Right.
Mainly.
Right. Well, and just before you go on, Bijan, that is not the appropriation bill. I
was going to the appropriation
okay, bill. Right. I just want to explain that. Yeah, so that according to the Constitution, yes, go ahead.
It tends to offer a rationale, the arguments for the various numbers that we would have seen or heard in the estimates.
Precisely, yeah. Numbers in terms of revenues and expenditures on both sides. Yes. Fleshing out of those things and why and that kind of thing. So that is And according to, if you go back to the Constitution, the constitutional provision, the estimates are, the provision for the estimates is subsection 70, clause 70 subsection 1. And for the appropriation bill is 70 subsection 2. So those are the two constitutional provisions that must be followed in terms of the estimates which were presented over a week ago, and the budget which will be presented tomorrow and subsequently debated for starting on Tuesday. Yeah. But so the numbers one way, and then the explanation for the numbers, the following. But of course, we know that numbers without explanation don't really make much sense. We have to have the explanation as to why those numbers, and then the budget is what's going to tell us about the measures that are going to put in place, whether it's tax measures or whatever, to fulfill to make real the figures that are in the estimates. All right, so as we said, it's open mic today. The number to call is 457-9997. That would take you to the regular line direct, or to the WhatsApp line. And we now have a WhatsApp call to answer, Pigeon. We have somebody online. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yeah, greetings.
Greetings to you.
Yeah, hail up. Let's brother Cecil and Pigeon, and greetings to each and everyone who listening. Bongo Shak here. Cecil, I don't really buy newspaper. What newspaper you are quoting from?
I said it, but you were not listening to me from the beginning. I was quoting from the newspaper. Let me answer your question. I was quoting from the newspaper. The article begins on page 6 and it continues on page 19.
Okay. My question for ask you that, right? I cannot follow what you are reading. As I said, I have no newspaper, and I'm back and forth in my house doing some chores. So, and I'm listening from the phone, so I'm not in too loud. That's why I asked you. But in the reading, I'm noticing that a couple of the lines, I'm just saying Friday. So I'm wondering if the newspaper not quoting. I know in particular the comrade, you'll always say Dr. Friday. I love to keep a balance, right? And I don't know if the paper have it written so, and I wouldn't expect you will leave out the Dr. Friday, But I'm just looking at it from that sense of respect of the position of that person, Dr. Godwin Friday, as the Prime Minister. Because many a time you will correct people if they're trying to call comrade. Well, I use comrade for years since I know him as a family man, So, but I'm looking at that to keep a balance. And Cecil, I'm
Before you go
you,
on, hold on. Pigeon, you want to respond to that? You okay? All right. It's not really something that's really, it's not a issue. Anyway, I was reading the article as printed, in the newspaper for last Friday. It starts on page 6 and it continues on page 19. I was reading the article as it was printed. All right, so let's move on from there.
Yeah. Right, so you clear on that, right?
Let's move on from there. Let's not belabor that point. It's not germane to what we're going to discuss this morning.
Yeah. Cecil, I keep saying, and people keep asking me for the week, why you was a very international program, very listened to. And I know in the previous government, when they have things like that, you will bring on the Minister of Finance. But I don't know if you have offered to invite members of the NDP, especially Fitz. I know Fitz is a man will come. Fitz is a man like that. And so I can't make no judgment on it. But I, for instance, for my program, I'd invite all the people.
But guess what?
Uh-huh.
It is not your program.
I know.
All right. So let's move on from there. It is what it is we have today. We take your concern, and we would make efforts to address your concern.
I help your discussion. I should have Joel with there. He would agree with me.
But Joel isn't here, so you can raise it. Look, are you going to comment on the contents and what we want to discuss this morning? Are you going to comment on the contents of what I read? The summary of the budget?
Yes, so,
right, so go ahead.
I'm getting to that, but I'm free to make a comment.
But that is not what's in focus right now.
You can't curtail freedom of speech. I sure a lot of people agreeing with Bunga Shak is in this morning that you should have someone there from the government at least. Okay. With the estimate, right? Cecil, help me to understand this, or you may more have a broader knowledge on it. Like I've been asking myself, the budget was being prepared. I know Ken Morris and Edmund and so on and the other staff members who work very hard. So I was wondering at that time, when I see the elections coming up at certain time, I was wondering like if there's good proposal in the budget, if the government now that came in place, if they can continue with that, or if they will just scratch everything and deal with their own. As you said, there's a different philosophy and concept where you tie it into the American Party, the Republican, so on and so on, right? You gave that discussion. So I have been wondering, and I glad when you brought it to the fruit, why it is that the new government can continue with some of the basic things that is already there, that is workable for the country or to uplift the people, But I glad you bring it out in that form,
In which
So
form?
that was-
I didn't bring out. I read the article.
No, in your discussion, I mean the
Oh,
article.
you mean the philosophical differences?
Yeah,
I see. Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Cecil. So it all beat me, because if I take on new government and I see, boy, a man just did a budget and I see things, I will continue. We got who praise or credit go to. You know what I mean? It's just a country trying to develop, but people don't want to take credit or give credit to others. So that's the whole problem about
No, but
human
if you look at if you go back to see what I read, you would realize that some of the aspects of that were put in the budget during preparation under the previous administration, some of them are there. Some are left out. Some are left out, but some are there.
Yeah, 1 and 2 was there, but certain
It's
major
more than 1 or 2.
But the comrade said 1 and 2 of them. So I think some of them should have been looked at, But Cecil, let me think. I cooking here, and I kind of listening you still, So
All right. Well, good to hear
but,
you.
give thanks for the response. At least you rig up on me today. So you know what I mean?
What? What was that? What word did you use?
Eh?
But you said I read something on you. I didn't hear it.
I just been getting a Rasta language.
Rasta language. And what is the word? What is the word?
Yeah. At least you keep the calm composure. Everybody say,
I'm always calm and composed. I'm always calm and composed. You may not pick it up, but I am always. That's one thing I know about me. Anyway, enjoy your cooking.
Yeah, man.
And have a good day.
Love to hear you discuss,
All right,
for
good.
a long time.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right.
The question of bringing possibly government ministers on,
he did mention
on
Chris Fitzbramble.
Suggest Chris Bramble.
Fitzbramble. Fitzbramble is the Minister of Finance.
I don't know how many persons have been listening to us over the years, indicating the number of times we have invited, particularly Dr. Friday, to the program. And we got the distinct impression, somebody could call and correct me if I'm wrong, that the NDP, the New Democratic Party, had made a decision. That's how I see it.
Well, I can't go that far.
Not to appear on the program.
I can't go that far to say that the party as a whole made a decision. But certainly what you're saying is that many efforts were made up to last year to invite persons from the NDP on the program. The last such person was the Honorable Fitzgerald Bramble.
Right.
He wasn't in government then. That effort was made in June, I think, June or July. I have it on my phone. And he said he wasn't prepared to be there.
I could still find a copy of a letter which we had written to Dr. Friday himself. And so we got no response. So perhaps it's probably still the line of march for the party not to appear on this program.
Well, I don't know. We'll try again, of course.
We will continue to try.
Yeah, we will continue to try.
So persons must understand that there's some rationale behind them not appearing. Are we not making another attempt to get them on?
Well, although, as I said,
the program is always open to any
and everybody.
Any party.
But as I said, I will make an effort again. I remember last week. And by the way, have you seen the estimate on social
No.
Because remember, in the previous government, it used to be presented soon after.
Is it generally after the
presentation?
Presentation of the budget itself also.
Oh, it's not before the budget?
No,
the estimates are not
everything tends to come around the same time.
Oh, okay, so we look forward to seeing the on the government website. We look forward to seeing the estimates and the budget sometime next week.
And the budget
this week, right? Sometime this week. In as much as I remember last week, our good friend Hugh Stewart asked, and I promised him that I'd get a copy to him, but I couldn't simply because I didn't see it on the government website.
I think it also has to do with making up changes on and so on to reflect exactly what was presented, because
And what was debated.
what was debated,
Yeah.
because sometimes there might be changes to what was actually presented. So the public is then given a clean copy of the presentations. That is how I understand it.
Yeah. That's usually the way it is.
Yeah.
In the past, anyway,
Yeah.
the past government did it. They would clean up and then they'd based on the debate,
Right.
presentation debate, and then they would make it available on the website. So hopefully we will have a chance to go to it on the website. Pigeon, somebody's asking us, so can you please explain in simple terms political parties' philosophies? I don't believe your listeners quite understand this. Thank you. You want to take a shot at that? Philip?
You the one who brought up the
Yes.
term, so perhaps you should.
Basically, the political philosophy of each party has a political philosophy. Each person has a political philosophy, as a matter of fact. And it defines your outlook, it defines your own principles and the actions that you take in fulfillment of those principles and in fulfillment, broadly speaking, of your philosophy. In the context of political parties, we know, just to start the frame of reference, we know that the ULP has always, and it's written down many places, that its philosophy, its social democracy, is basically, and what social democracy does, places emphasis on helping those who are least able to live and to fulfill their lives. For example, it would, according to the social philosophy of the ULP, the focus on providing inexpensive, affordable health care. I won't say free, although in some cases free health care, as in, for example, those persons who are maybe still benefiting from the program at the Modern Medical, those people who go there for dialysis. Those people they get this service there almost free, if not free. The last figure I heard was 70 or 73 persons. And the latest of that was that they were being transported. Now, in a situation where you have, if the hospital was being operated on a private basis, the patients would have had to pay the cost of that care, and they would have had to pay to find themselves there. And that is what is considered more or less, free health care or affordable health care. And that is a principle of social democracy, which is the philosophy guided the ULP, the Unity Labour Party. If, on the other hand, the ULP had a philosophy of, as if you like, as in the United States, private sector defined by private sector run and so on and so forth, the persons would have to pay for those services. And as I was saying, it was widely discussed leading up to the election. You would recall that at a certain point, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, St. Leacock, had put the call for example, privatization of certain facilities, in particular the healthcare, where he was saying some shares may have to turn over shares or offer shares to medical schools to pay for the cost of hospitals, of running the healthcare service. Sorry, I think he was speaking particularly about the center that's been built at Arnos Vale. He also mentioned the point of privatizing the operation at the port because of the cost of construction of the port facility. So those are, and some people even extended it to the running of the Argyle International Airport. So that is I don't want to be too complicated in my version of it, but basically that is a U.S. type, a Jamaica type, if you like, Jamaica government, present government type of running things, which reflects their own philosophy, as opposed to a ULP type running, which reflects the ULP's philosophy of assisting those who are least able to fend for themselves in housing, in education, in health, and so on and so forth. That's what defines the goals, the principles, and the actions associated with realizing those goals. Caller, I don't know if the person who sent the WhatsApp, I don't know if I've made it any easier for you. But let's take this call, and maybe this person may be able to help. Greetings. Welcome to the program. Dr. Cox.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Ryan. Good morning, Pete John. How are you doing?
We're good.
And good morning to your audience. Yes, you have an interesting topic, the budget. The estimates and the budget
tomorrow.
Yes, and the budget to be presented beginning tomorrow.
Yes.
I heard Bongo Shaka. My answer to that is that he didn't ask me, but I don't think the Minister of Finance would want to disclose everything now. I think it might be better after he has presented the budget, then to invite him. In other words, I think he would want the budget to be fresh and new to the people, what he wants to say, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then after that, we can go into greater detail, you know? So I think the minister, I cannot speak for the Minister of Finance, but I think that he would prefer to come after he has delivered the message. That is my thing. Now, I just would like, if you allow, it would take a couple of minutes for me to do what I want to do, because I think it's important as regards the budget. I'm not going to discuss any details of it, but I'm just going to share some things with intentions that I think are important. However, before I do that, you read the question about what is the philosophy of a political party, and you did share some ideas as regards that. These are areas that I studied at school and understand, generally speaking. Firstly, just generally, the word philosophy is made up of two words: philo, which means love, and sophia, which means wisdom. It's a Greek word, and therefore, the original meaning of the word philosophy is a love of or love for wisdom. Now, when we talk about the political philosophy, you understand, it is the general idea of the party. What is its belief? Okay, what are the core values of the party? That is what it actually means when you talk about the political philosophy of a party. Okay, what is it that guides it? So, for example, let's take the two parties in our country. And nobody has to argue with me or get angry with me for saying what I say, because it's truth. All right? The ULP says, well, we have a philosophy of social democracy. Right? What does that mean? Well, first and foremost, the word social, they mean that they care about the entire society, the society as a whole, you understand? But they're not going to enforce their wish through a revolution or anything. It's social democracy, so that it is a caring of the society that involves everybody. Okay, everybody has a voice, because the word democracy actually is two words: demo, which is people, and kratos, which is power. So democracy actually means people's power. That's the Greek terminology. Now, so what you have is in the ULP is a philosophy which says that we are going to take. Hello, are you with me?
Yeah, we're following you.
We're following you, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, right. It's a philosophy which says we're going to take care of the whole society, but the whole society is going to be involved in taking care. Okay, so that's what it means in general terms when you say social democracy. So that you would see, for example, in the ULP, housing programs for people, education, infrastructural development, which benefits everybody, the society as a whole. So, for example, the new hospital which is being built is built for everybody. And it doesn't mean that if you don't have the money, then you would not be given, services. You yourself, Cecil, mentioned the dialysis business, where some people can't pay for it, but they will not die if they can't pay, because we have one of social democracy. We take care of the whole society, okay? But in so doing, we involve the whole society. So in other words, it's not that you set up a Stalinist dictatorship, and the leader of the party said, this is what you're going to do, and whether you want it or not, this is because it is best for the society, and so we're going to do it that way. It is not that way. It's that, okay, this is what we think is best, but tell us, do you also agree with that? Do you also want us to do that? And if so, then vote for us. So that is what it means. Now, let's take the other side of the fence. As I said, be patient with me, please.
That's all right. Take your time. Take your time. Yes.
Right? Now, let's take the other side of the fence. And this is what the leader of the NDP said. What we are concerned with is providing space for the private sector. Now, note the difference, right? One is dealing with the society as a whole, social democracy, right? The other one is dealing with the private sector. Okay, and even if the party is called Democratic, the New Democratic Party, right? It's a new democracy, but a new democracy that deals with what? The private sector. He said so, not me. I'm not making up a story, but it's not going to change the truth. You understand? So be angry at the truth. Do not be angry with Richard Byron Cox. I'm just sharing my knowledge because I belong to this country. The scholarships I got was given to me in the name of this country. It's because I am a Vincentian, they were given to me. And so I owe this country. And therefore, I have a responsibility to this country as a citizen who's patriotic and who loves this country. So that is the difference in philosophy. So what you're going to see now, a matter of fact, as you may know, the government, and it falls under the Prime Minister, has a ministry of the private sector. You understand? So it tells you. So when we talk about the philosophy of a party, what we're talking about, it is its core belief, its core ideas, its core objective, right? Which will then become policy once the party gets into power. That is what it means. Now let's turn to the budget, because I've already taken quite a lot of your time.
That's all right.
I think I need to share it.
Dr. Cox, it's all right. We're discussing, this is democracy. Who wishes to speak will call and speak. You want to speak, so you speak. So you have it's your turn.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Now, we are going to hear from the government tomorrow, sometime around 4 o'clock, as regards this budget. And there's going to be a debate on it. Okay, out of that debate, we Vincentians are going to learn exactly what is going to happen for the next year as regards what monies are going to be spent and so on and so forth. So this is what I want to say. Firstly, I am not going to make any conclusions or any declarations on the budget. No, I'll wait until it is all finished. And if need be, I can share some views. But these are fundamentals that I'm going to tell you now. One, this budget belongs to all of us. This is our country. The monies that are going to be spent belong to us. It is our money. You must understand that. Therefore, we need to have a say into how our money is being spent and whether or not that money is being spent on us or it's being spent on others. We need to understand this. So what does it mean? The first thing you have to do, every Vincentian, once you have the time, please take some time to listen to the budget. Not to argue with it, not to disagree or agree or whatever. Listen. Firstly, try and understand what it is about. That's the first thing each and every one of us should do. So if you have the time, okay, and even if you don't, try and make the time. Because what is happening here is that an exercise where your money, my money, I have a house in this country. You understand? I pay taxes, the house and land taxes in this country. Okay? So your money is going to be spent. And therefore, you should listen as to how your money is going to be spent. That's one. Two. This is an exercise which is going to tell you about all the areas of our country. Health, education, infrastructure, water, etc., etc. Listen carefully and note what monies are being spent on. Is it going to be spent on a big yacht to sail to Canada? I'm just being, just using an example. We know no money is going to be spent on a yacht to Canada. We know that. But what I'm trying to do is to give an example of what I'm talking about. What is it going to be spent on? And you have to look carefully at that. Secondly, look at if it's going to be spent on fundamentals and how much is going to be fundamentals. What are the fundamentals? Well, if health is not a fundamental, then tell me what is. If education is not fundamental, then please tell me what is. You understand? If taking care of the poor, is not fundamental, then tell me what is. So you have to look and see what the money is going to be spent on. How much of it is going to be spent on what? Thirdly, look at needs, right? Because fine, we might spend 300 million in education, and that is essential. But do we need to spend 300 million in education and don't spend anything at all on health? In other words, it's not just money should be spent on wants, you understand, but on needs. Those are two different things. When you need something, you cannot do without it. When you want something, you just want it. And if you don't get it, nothing really happens to you, So you have to look at that. What monies are being spent on needs? So, for example, let's take the people in Union, Canawan, and so on and so on. They need their homes. You can't sleep under the stars and in the rain and spend your day in the sun. You have to live somewhere. Okay? That's a need. Okay? So we have to look and see whether monies are going to be spent on wants, or on needs, etc. We need to know that. Fourthly, the people voted this government because they wanted certain things changed. How much of the budget is geared towards financing that change? In other words, I don't know what people wanted. Mr. X might want that, Mr. Y might want that, it might be roads, it might be whatever. Okay, I do not know. But the people do know. They know what they voted for. Okay, so you have to see how much of that budget is geared towards that change that people about that they wanted. Right? Now, I should have said, before I said all of that, I should have said something which is very important, which you mentioned, but and which led to me discussing the philosophy of the political parties. What is the philosophy behind the budget itself? This is a fundamental thing. In the years that Camila Gonzalez ran the Ministry of Finance, every budget had a team, and he would tell you, this is what we want to achieve. In other words, you have the regular things. You have to pay teachers, you have to pay policemen, and so on, government workers, etc., etc. You have to do all of that. Refurbish schools, and so on. But the budget had a philosophy. It was going to take you somewhere. There's going to be a fundamental change. Now, let me prove this in very simple terms to you. So, Ralph came to power in 2001, okay? And then, about 2008, he said, listen to me, we're going to build an international airport. And every budget after that had some money for it. And at the end of the day, what happened? In 2017, we did what? We opened an international airport. Do you understand? Right? So the financing, the budget took us somewhere else. Not just quantitatively, but qualitatively. It took us somewhere else. And so we have got to look at that. Right? These are just broad things. As I said, later on, I can always come back and discuss details of the budget. And you're wondering, so he's playing economist. I'm not playing any economist. I'm not an economist. I've never claimed to be one. But I did study O and A levels economics, and I did 4 years of political economy at university. So I think I have a basic understanding of what this thing is. Now, so back to what I'm saying. We have to see whether or not this budget is going to take us somewhere. In other words, what we have to understand, what I'm trying to say to you is this. St. Vincent is a developing country. And if you want that development to take place, you have to spend on it. If you have basically a basic needs approach, which is, okay, we're going to patch the road on King Garden, and then we're going to patch the other one up in Sharps, and then we go to Green Hill and we patch a road up there. And Miss Matty, we're going to raise the poor relief, as they call it, right? Public assistance from $10 to $20, right? Okay, fine. But does that take us anywhere as regards development? Does it? No, it doesn't. You understand? What happened with, and coming back with the idea of political philosophy of a party, what happened was this under the ULP. And I'm not praising anybody, I'm just telling you a fact. I'm just telling you simple fact. They dealt with the basic needs. And so they built a social security network. You know, so like to live and raising the public assistance and all of that and all of that. You know, this is all of that, right? But at the same time, they spent money on development. And that is why you have a port. That is why you have the bridge over Rabaka. That is why you have the international airport. So we have to look at the budget from that standpoint, because this is not in America, and this is not Canada, and this is not England. This is a developing country. And so therefore, we have to see whether or not the budget has anything to deal with development. Now, you might say, oh, all of this is what he's talking about is mumbo jumbo. Well, I'm sorry. If you think that way. And if we don't understand these things, we will pay a serious price down the road. Now, there are several other things I'd like to say, but I've spoken a lot. So I just did 2 or 3 other basic things. One is how the budget deals with debt. You understand? In other words, in other words, we know that the national debt is about probably $3.2 billion or something like that, right? This is not a very serious issue at present because the GDP of the country is about the same size. It's not the best thing to have, my understanding of economics, you know, but it's not a precarious situation, right? But it has to be dealt with. But at the same time that has to be dealt with, Mr. Ryan and P. John, you still have to deal with development. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to deal with what some people would call prudence and enterprise at the same time. Okay? And you have to look and see how the budget deals with that, right? Because while we have to manage the debt properly, Mr. Ryan, we still have to invest if we're going to take the country forward. Don't fool yourself. This is just reality. And as I say, you could curse me until from now until never heard. This is just what the reality is. So we have to deal with that and see how we manage that. Finally, what we have to understand, all of us, each and every one of us, is when we look at the budget, please don't just look at, oh, what is in it for Richard Byron Cox? And if not in it for Richard Byron Cox personally, then it's not a good budget. Nonsense. Nonsense. We cannot approach this thing like that. Because once it's for the country, you are going to benefit. You understand? Oh, the budget might not give you $10 in your pocket directly. But when we build the international airport, where do you land? Where do the goods that you use come in? Not at the airport. Where does the tourist arrive? And don't you drive a taxi? And don't those tourists take your taxi? So the budget might not put the $10 in your pocket directly. Don't look at it that way. It's the wrong way to look at it. Look at it as regards the overall development and the overall future of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know I've spent a long time, Mr. Ryan and Mr. John. Please forgive me for that, right? And I wish you both a very good Sunday. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. But before you go, a couple of things, observation I made while you were talking. And you did promise that after the presentation of the budget tomorrow by the Prime Minister, that it offers opportunity to come back and discuss the details of the budget, because what I read was basically broad categories in terms of how the numbers are linked, in terms of the estimate. So I'm holding you to that next week when we may come back to look at the budget, you would be prepared to come and deal with some of those details. That's one. But even as you
walk right into that one, right, Mr. Ryan, I walk right into that. Huh?
But even as you offer an explanation to Bongo Shaka, where in terms of when it would be the most appropriate time to to invite the Prime Minister to be on if he so desires to be with us. I want to say to Bongo Shaka, because I think he's still listening, that he needs to listen more closely or carefully before he responds to things, because he accused me of not giving Dr. Friday his kudos in terms of his, doctor. But I read the article, and in fact, in the article itself, the article refers, according to Dr. Friday, it's in the article, but he obviously was not listening close enough. I don't know if he read the article, but what he was accusing me of not doing, he was incorrect, because it's in the article. And thanks, Dr. Cox, for the suggestion of it may be a better thing to invite Dr. Friday, Prime Minister Friday, after the budget presentation.
Well, if I were him and you had invited, I would do it after, before, because I want it to be fresh. I want the people, to pay attention to me, and when I'm doing it and so on, I would have turned you down. I'd say, Mr. Ryan, I'm sorry, but I'll come after, not before.
Right.
Because
but let me say, I didn't invite him before. I just want to make that clear. I didn't.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, before the budget,
great.
as Prime Minister, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. One other thing, which Dongo Shaka mentioned, and which I think is interesting to figure and to work. If you note, I have consistently said throughout my little presentation that I am not an economist. I did read the discipline for several years, but I am not an economist. Honorable Fitzbramble, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is, according to what we know, a trained economist.
Well, he has made it clear over the years anyway, so.
Right. So it will be interesting to hear his take on it, because Mr. Bongo Shaka said that Fitz would come. I think I agree with him that I know Fitz enough to say that.
Well, except to say I disagree with Bongo Shaka, because in the same sense as he's raising it, properly speaking, the Minister of Finance is whose budget it is, or whose estimate it is. So he is the person.
I totally agree with you.
That we should invite to interact with.
No, I totally agree with you.
I mean, of course, Minister Bramble may wish to comment at some time, but but protocol.
Yeah. No, just to say this, the reason why I mentioned Fitz and at the same time mention myself is that, technically speaking, you understand, technically, neither the Prime Minister, as far as I know, I could be wrong, I think he's a lawyer by training, right? Nor I, right, would have the technical expertise as economist the way Mr. Bramble would have. That was the point I was trying to make, that's all I was trying to say. Okay, thank you very much for entertaining me.
Well, thanks a lot for calling as usual. We appreciate, and your contribution is quite, it's enlightening, and we wish you that you would call more often on these matters. So thanks again, Dr. Cox. All the best to you.
All right, thank you.
All right then, good. Bye-bye. Okay, that's a good. That was a good one, I think. Bijan?
Yes, definitely.
Well, I hope the person who asked the question, I think he did. He responded. He says, thanks to Dr. Cox. He just explained the plain English government ability to fix problems. Just explain, I think the person meant, yes, in plain English, government's ability to fix the problems a broken pipe causes, not the broken pipe itself, especially in the Caribbean. So that's the response from the person who sent the earlier WhatsApp message. All right, so yes, we are dealing with somebody's giving us a news update on statistics about killing, but we're dealing with the budget this morning. Sorry, the estimate. We're dealing with the estimate basically, I don't want to be distracted, and I try not to be distracted on those matters. Yeah. Okay, so the number to call is 457-9997 if you wish to be part of our conversation this morning. And that number, you can call straight or WhatsApp. We'd be happy to entertain you and have you share your views with the listening family here to WEFM or issue at hand. But while we are waiting for someone to call us, I want to, earlier on, I said that, I better hold this back. I was going to play something in solidarity with Black History Month, but I'll hold that back because it may interrupt the flow of our discussion, so I won't do that. But just to make the point, Pigeon, that what I read earlier on as presented in the newspaper was a summary, really. It didn't go into details in terms of, or even the finer subsections or subcategories of those things. It's really a summary of the way the budget, the estimates, were presented. And this person took the privilege to just to reproduce what he or she heard as presented by Prime Minister Dr. Friday at the time of the presentation of the estimates. But you know something I find interesting though, because I noticed that many of the ministers have been making visits to different sites, and they have been highlighting things which they, according to their observation, they've been highlighting things that they consider to be problematic. For example, the Deputy Prime Minister has spoken largely about what he considers to be the inadequate conditions of living in some of the police stations. I'll come back to finish that point, but we have a call on the line. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Ryan.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here wondering, let's say tomorrow is yes.
We lost you. We didn't hear the first part of what you said. Let's say that's what we heard.
So I'm saying, let's say the estimate is to be reached tomorrow.
No, the estimate went already. Your estimate went last week.
To the budget.
The budget is tomorrow, yes.
Yes. Let's say that the Prime Minister, God forbid that he took sick and he cannot be able to get it. What will happen? He has to pass it on to the Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know the protocol. I cannot respond to it. But let's hope the Prime Minister doesn't get sick. But
No, I'm not.
I know, but I'm just saying to you that that's a matter for the Speaker and the cabinet, I think, of the government. They have to decide what will take place. Not this, yeah, the office of the Speaker.
Okay, very clear on that.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, Pigeon, we have heard all these utterances from various ministers and pointing to things that are, in their view, that are inaccurate. Sorry, not inaccurate, insufficient, sorry. But I was wondering, and I'm still wondering, whether or not those things ought not to have been included in the estimates and subsequent in the budget, because they seem to have, for example, Deputy Prime Minister St. Clair Leacock, Honorable St. Clair Leacock, has on more than one occasions expressed concern about what he considers to be the conditions under which the police are working. He mentioned the building, for example, and we all know that they shifted the operation of the police from the headquarters for a few days at least to some of the building in Kingstown. I don't know why, because I didn't see an explanation coming out as to why that was done. But if it is that conditions of living are so poor, why weren't they included to be addressed in this year? I haven't seen anything, and I didn't hear anything in the estimate. And I'm raising it in a very objective manner. And other ministers of government likewise have said things. But this particular one seems to be critical in the sense that the operations of the police headquarters had to be relocated. That's urgent to me, and that's critical. I mean, you're talking about the seat of security in the country. So if it is that the existing quarters are so bad, then they should have been given attention in the estimate. And I don't know that they're in the estimate.
Unless the visits took place after the estimates.
Yeah, but the estimates could have been adjusted.
Yeah.
They could have been adjusted as a cabinet decision to adjust those estimates. Not part of it is a cabinet decision. And so I would have thought that those estimates would have been adjusted to accommodate those critical and urgent improvement in the living conditions of the police headquarters. I didn't see that. So I'm posing that as an area. Because parallel, there are other things that came to the attention of the new government, and they were included in the estimate to be addressed. So really and truly, the security of the country, which is more critical and more important, more fundamental, I think those matters should have been given urgent attention. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
James Stewart, here, Stewart.
Mr. Stewart, greetings again.
Greetings again. I just heard you all discussing about who is presenting the budget and who not presenting the budget.
No, that's not what we were discussing. We're discussing the presentation of the budget, which is to be done by one person, the Prime Minister, Dr. Godwin Friday, tomorrow at 4.
I know that.
So that's what we're talking about.
The discussion with you and your gentlemen talking about Fitzpatrick being economist and so forth. I want to make a comment. When people elect somebody to represent them in Parliament, they don't necessarily elect an economist or an engineer or seaman or fisherman, any of the sort. They elect them. And the person who becomes the Minister of Finance doesn't have to be an economist, as Dr. Friday isn't. So there should be no reference to any minister being an engineer or an economist. We all elect them to go and talk. In fact, I would say, as best talker get elected.
Mr. Stewart, you don't mind if I disagree with you? You said we elect them to go and talk. That's what you said?
Yes, yes.
I would imagine we elect them to do more than talk. They have to meet. They have to meet in cabinet. They have to make decisions on things. They have to understand. They have to be informed on those things they're making decisions. So it's not simply talking.
All those things that you talk about tomorrow are decided by the civil servants. And so explain to them. And they're going to explain the Parliament.
By and large, but they do make interjections. They do have their own input. But by and large, it's civil servants.
Yeah, everybody can talk and make interjection, yes. I know in that. But by and large, the budgets are usually made by civil servants, experts. Right?
But Mr. Stewart, if you allow me.
Yes, sir.
The budget, in the final analysis, if it's your budget, and you claim it to be your budget, it must be in line with your own philosophy, shouldn't it?
Yes.
Right. So to the extent that the civil servants are the persons responsible for preparing the figures, yes. But if those figures don't reflect and don't project yours or my philosophy, then I am not going to just go with those figures.
True.
Right.
But the budget is not one person's budget. You know, the Prime Minister is in the budget. Never whole cabinet, that make the decision who to put, do this, do that, and do that. All have to come together to discuss what's been done. Even though the Prime Minister presents the budget, it's not his budget as such. It's government's budget. And the government budget is prepared by the public servants.
All that you're saying is true, but the budget must reflect the philosophy
of the government.
Not the government, the philosophy of the party, not the government, of the party that is in the administration.
Oh, who is the administration? Not the government?
I presume. Did you? I'm sure you listened to Dr. Cox earlier. Yeah, did you listen to Dr. Cox? Yeah, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, partly.
Right. And he was explaining, but he went at length to explain the concept of philosophy and so on and so forth. And I did to some extent earlier. So I'm saying the figures don't stand by themselves. That's the point I'm making. They don't stand by. Right.
The budget includes work to be done by agriculturists. Budget includes work to be done by engineers. Budget includes work to be done by the port officers. All these must come together.
And guess what? All of that you have said is correct, 100%. But also, the budget will reflect the philosophy of who is charged with the responsibility of making sure the budget is implemented.
One, which is implemented?
Yeah. Well, executed, whichever word you want to use.
But who implements the budget?
No, we don't need to. We know all of that. We don't need to go into those. All I'm trying to clarify with you, and I understand.
Tell me.
I understand, and I agree with much of what you've said. All I'm trying to make clear is the fact that every budget reflects a particular philosophy.
That's right.
Right. So that's all.
I don't know too.
Okay.
I'm just telling you also.
Okay.
The
Also,
budget is not one person's own.
I agree. We agree on that.
Right. And the budget is presented by the parliament. Doesn't have to be an economist because we don't elect economists.
We agree on that as well. You and I agree on that.
Right. So when and the budget is also implemented by civil servants.
Agreed.
You see that? All right, then so we'll end the story.
No, it's not the end. I want you to agree that each budget reflects the philosophy of the party in administration.
That's true.
Okay, all right. So we agree on that. We agree.
And the party in administration reflects my opinion.
The people's will.
Population.
The people's will.
The people's.
Yes.
Majority people, right? We agree on that.
We agree, yes.
But majority people don't body the budget, don't listen to the budget.
Well, you should encourage them to do so tomorrow. Let's encourage the majority of people to do so tomorrow.
We have work to do, man.
Listening to the budget is work. Your work cannot be more important than listening to the budget tomorrow, because what is said in the budget tomorrow affects your work.
It's been affecting a long time now.
It always affects your work.
Are they going to encourage people to work with me?
Well,
I need workers.
Well, you see, you're getting a free advertisement right now. You're asking.
That's right, too. I have to take.
You need workers to do what? You need workers to do what?
I'm a farmer, sir.
Yeah, but what
And the
aspect
biggest
of the
problem
farming
in the
you need
country-
workers to do? What aspect of it? Planting bananas, planting edos, planting
Cucumber,
yams, whatever.
Edos,
Oh,
yes.
weeding?
Yes, and weeding and spray grass
Okay.
and destroy bananas and harvest bananas and so on.
Okay.
At one time, I had 18 workers on my farm.
1/8.
Now I 1/8.
Yes.
Now I have 4.
And why?
Ask me why.
Are you paying them adequately?
Yes.
Okay. And are you allowing them reasonable working hours?
Yes.
And are you paying the NIS?
I have to pay the NS, sir.
Yes. Well, and they're still not coming to work.
Well, most farmers have the same experience.
Hmm.
Most farmers in this country have the same experience, sir.
What would you see the government? What would you want the government to do in its budget to change that around?
Do not pay people for doing nothing.
What? Say exactly what you mean.
What?
I don't know what you mean.
I'm of the view that public service is grossly overstaffed. Grossly overstaffed. I went to a ministry sometime last year or the year before in one office. I met in one office 4 young ladies. They were the minister's secretaries. Now the minister also has a public secretary, assistant secretary, so forth and so forth. Why should you have 4 secretaries again? Now,
But before you go on, was it one of those ministers that carried was responsible for different ministries, different portfolios? Portfolios,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Was it one of those ministries?
Yes.
And you don't think that each of those workers was responsible for?
His permanent secretary, his permanent secretary and the staff responsible for the minister's work. The permanent secretary and the staff responsible for the minister's work. You get the point?
Not quite, but go ahead. Finish your point.
Now, a few years ago, an elderly gentleman made a statement that a few years ago, the administrator and himself were able to run the country. Now, you find out in Simonton now, a person goes off to university study, they come back, look into government for a job. Don't they?
Not everybody, especially these days. Not everybody.
Now, the first time I went to see, a few years ago, I went to a Prime Minister's office and I passed in his waiting room. And I went to the Prime Minister and I said, brother man, who are those ladies down there? He said, they're looking for work. I said, my dear friend, you're not employed. You were not elected to give people work, Be employed to deal with the whole economy.
So giving people work or finding work for people is not dealing with the economy?
Is that no.
You said no? That's what you said?
No, I said no.
Oh, okay.
I went to another subject after.
But you know, Stuart, we're straying from the topic. The question I asked: what would you want to say to the government to help with your situation where you need more workers?
I don't want to help me personally. I don't want government to help me personally, you know.
But you just said it. You just said it while we were.
I don't want government to help me personally.
No.
I'm telling you what they should be doing, and I will benefit.
What? What would that be?
Okay. I told you already, the civil service is gross overstaffed.
Right. So what would you want the government to do? Fire some of them?
Don't take fun.
Huh?
Do not employ. The government minister is not responsible for anybody. The Public Service Commission is there for that. Do you know that?
Sorry, repeat that.
The Public Service Commission is there to employ people for the civil service.
Right. But you just said, and you repeated it, that the civil service is overstaffed. Whether it is the Public Service Commission that's doing the employing or not, you're saying it is overstaffed. Isn't that what you said?
Right.
So you said
yes.
They should not, all those persons who are working should not be working there.
No.
Oh, okay. So that's one of the advice you'd give to the government?
Let the Public Service Commission employ the people that are necessary to do the government job. And they must get that work somehow or the other, go get work elsewhere. However, another minister office another time, I said, brother man, what is you doing on there? They're looking for work.
All right.
Listen, I told the Prime Minister, I went to migrate to Canada one time. And an office in the Department of Canada called Manpower Center. That's where people look for work. Not my minister's office.
No, but you see, the point you're making, you're changing your argument. You're saying, period, that there are too many people working in the public sector. That's what you said. That's what you said. Huh?
Uh-huh.
That's what you said.
Yes.
And you would want to see that number reduced, regardless to who is recruiting the person, whether it's the Public Service Commission or the minister or who. You would want to see the numbers or the number reduced. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, and that's the advice you would give to the present government. Is it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Right. So
that you go get work. Do not go to the minister job.
All right, but that is your position.
What do you say about that?
No, I disagree with you. I don't agree with firing people.
You think I say fire people?
So if you're going to have a smaller staff, how are you going to get a smaller staff? How are you going to get a smaller staff?
Many of the people in civil service are not private public service commission, you know.
I hear you, but I'm asking you, how are you going to get a smaller staff?
Don't employ people.
Don't employ, you said?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Let Public Service Commission employ people as advertised.
All right.
All right. Are you agree with that or disagree?
Well, it's not. Well, if that's a procedure, yes. But you said currently there are too many civil servants, public servants. Yes, you said there are too many public servants, and the only way to get rid of them is to fire them. I'm saying no. I don't agree with that. There's another way. I believe in social democracy, as explained by Dr. Cox earlier.
So what is social democracy?
Let's not go over that. Dr. Cox did a good job in explaining it earlier. So we're not going to go over that.
Where's Dr. Cox now?
I don't know if he's in Vinci or is.
Where he working?
I will find out from him. Oh, where he's working?
Where he's working? Yes.
Well, the last place I know he used to be working. He does different things. He lectures at university. He works with the UN and so on and so forth. He does different things. But what has that got to do with what your point? What has that got to do with your point?
Because you got to be working productively in a society. The United Nations has an abundance of people and employs more people with other people's funds, other people's monies. Let us look at things now.
Hold on. You don't tell me you sound like Trump. Don't tell me you're a Trump.
Trump is the government president of the United States.
Yeah, but Trump.
You can never reach it either.
No, I say you sound like. I said like. I didn't say you're Trump. I said you sound like Trump. In his ideas about the United Nations. You know, he's been getting rid of a number of, not getting rid of, he's been pulling out the U.S. from a number of UN committees. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
And he has been refusing to pay the contribution of the U.S. to the UN's operation.
I heard so.
Right. So your argument in terms of what should happen in St. Vincent reminds me of those things that Trump is advocating and is practicing. That's the point I was making.
You think employment is social responsibility? I went to Saturday. Thursday.
All right, let's make it the last point, because other people trying to get in.
No, this morning. I went to Saturday last Thursday. Okay. I drove right down.
You drove?
I used to work.
You drove?
No, I didn't. I was being driven.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I used to be manager of Richmond-Vale Group of Estates. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Thanks for informing.
And when I reached Richmond-Vale Estate, I asked some people I met by the wayside. Some of them remember me, some of them don't. What's happening there? Nothing. Nothing on the estate is happening. And we saw where the St. Lucian's staff, the hillsides, looking for rockstone.
St. Lucian's staff, you said? Scar. Okay, I'm not sure what that means.
Okay then. Looking for rockstone.
You're talking about the operation, the St. Lucian operation that mines the quarry. That's what you're talking about?
Oh, use kind of English language. Big language to me. I know how to imagine.
All right, but we gotta move on because some people have been.
Yes, I want to make the final point.
Go ahead.
That estate used to employ over 200 people daily. Now, I do anything going on down there. There used to be, I used to have over 100 head of cattle, these cattle. 50 acres of cocoa. I used to put this bananas by nothing going on down there. And people say nothing happened down there. So,
what would be your advice going forward? What would be your advice going forward?
I wrote an article on it. It will be published next week.
All right. I look forward to seeing it, and I'll read it. And then, all right then. Thanks. Thanks for calling. All right. That was, of course, people would know the voice well now. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good day, gentlemen. How are you doing?
We're doing okay.
Okay. Cuddy Williams here. I would like to approach this from a little different point of view.
Right.
Not the same, it's on the same general subject, yes. But my question is, I'm asking because I do not know. I've heard so far about a negative or deficit budget of approximately $105 million. I mean, obviously, we're going to hear more about this tomorrow, right? Okay, but I'm just wondering, I mean, based on what you've heard so far in the estimates, where does this $105 million come from? I mean, what's it going to be spent on? Particularly since a couple of things. One is this present government, I understand, intends to eliminate numerous projects which the previous government had started and were doing pretty well with. So those can be eliminated.
No,
So-
before you go, which ones did you hear about? Like, that would fall in that category.
I'm just
Projects that the
generalizing.
that the previous government started.
Okay, so
I think
I'm
we need to
just-
make a clarification. I think what you meant, projects for which the previous government received funding and they
Right.
were to be executed.
Okay.
That's
okay.
that's as far as I am aware. I don't know that the government has started. Oh yes, actually, let me correct myself. I know they have started. The previous government started construction of the St. Vincent Beach Athletic Stadium, and there were some
Yeah.
things earmarked to be done to
Okay.
complete that project. As far as I'm aware, those things are not included in the estimates of this for this year.
Okay. Oh, here's another one which I don't think funding was obtained for, but plans, were there. Is for example, the city at Arnesville. That's another one that they may not be continuing.
Yeah.
Okay, but there was not obviously not financing for that. I understand that, But I'm just wondering. I mean, how do we arrive at that big number of 105? We're going to find out, like I said, pretty soon. But as far as I know, in the last 4 years of the previous government, their deficit budgets, if you add them all together, is less than 105 million. So how we arrive at this number? I'm just curious and looking forward to see that. So I just want to inject that in.
Well, let's listen to the budget
Absolutely.
presentation tomorrow, because in the budget, I presume the Prime Minister might explain those things.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So we're looking forward to that, and more so to the Tuesday response by the ex-PM. All right?
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for calling. Okay. I think a lot of people are going to be listening to the budget presentation tomorrow, and the response on the 9 o'clock the following day, Tuesday. So, contrary to what my friend Stuart was implying, the budget is big listener. It would have a big listenership. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Weeks. How are you going?
I am good,
Okay, good to hear you.
Listening to you. I know you didn't intend to call, but a couple of your callers kind of draw me out.
Okay.
Philbert, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good to hear you.
Thank you. First, I start with Mr. Williams. He identified himself.
Mm-hmm.
The $105 million is really money that the government is saying they have things to do, but they have not identified the money to do it. That's basically what a deficit is. Is the money, is the amount in your revenue, your projected revenue, because the estimates are really projections. The difference between your revenue and your expenditure as projected, and there's $105 million more in your expenditure than in your revenue. So I don't know if we can expect them to spend that $105 million because they have not identified where they will get it from. Cecil, with respect to philosophy and guiding the budget, sometimes politicians have no choice in how the budget or the estimates reflect their philosophy for various reasons. You see, I've been at pains to point out this over the years. Politicians are not necessarily required to be technical experts. in whatever ministry they had. What they need is to be able to listen, to follow questions, to ask questions, to follow what is being presented to them, and to agree or disagree, and so they can direct the technical people, the civil servants, those who work in the budget office, to make adjustments. So this issue about you must be an economist to present the budget. The budget is not really economics. The budget is really accounting.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts the economy, but it is really accounting. It's really dealing with the numbers. How you get to the budget? Ideally, you elect parliamentarians to go to the parliament and pass laws. That's a main function. From among the parliamentarians, you select a subgroup who become the executive. We call it the cabinet. And so they come up with policies. And I heard a journalist ask the minister, Dr. Friday, about this sometime recently. And I don't know that Dr. Friday understood the question. So the cabinet comes up with policy, and those policies are taken to the parliament for them to become law in one form or the other. And then after they become law, the public service are responsible to ensure that these laws are implemented. So that's the process that is taking place currently with respect to the estimates and the budget. I want to ask Mr. Stewart, because he ought to know that a permanent secretary is a misnomer. That person is not a secretary in the true sense of the word that take minutes and write letters, type letters and so. A permanent secretary is really a manager. It's a manager of the various portfolios that come under that ministry. So for him to include the permanent secretary in the secretarial staff of the minister, it can be a bit misleading. The permanent secretary is a manager. The permanent secretary is the accounting officer. And accounting in this sense doesn't mean keeping the numbers. Accounting here refers to being responsible. That's the person who is ultimately responsible for what is taking place in a ministry. That's the accounting officer. That person may or may not be involved in dealing with the numbers. But the responsibility is in the final analysis to take responsibility for whatever happens in or under their ministry. And that is why when you have a legal issue with respect to a ministry, it's usually the Attorney General, because that's the chief legal officer for the state, followed by the permanent secretary that are named in those matters. Mr. Stewart raised an important point also, Cecil, with respect to who prepares the budget. It really is the civil servants who prepare the budget, not the ministers. Pigeon mentioned that the budget process, preparation of the budget, starts in August. I would say, as somebody who has been involved in the process, the budget process actually starts when the current one was approved. So when the 2026 budget is approved, civil servants already start looking at what their budget would be in 2027. Mm-hmm. That is why in the estimates, you can have projections for 2027.
Okay.
The way the budget is done, or ought to be done, within the ministry, you're supposed to do an analysis of, and one approach is to use a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities that are available to your ministry, and the threats. Those things that you can have negative impact on your ministry, but are outside. Those are the threats. The opportunities are those for which you have somewhat control over. So you do a SWOT and you identify the critical issues, of course, guided by, as you refer to it, the policy of the government. So if you take health, for instance, the policy, the broad principle under which a government may approach governing is to ensure that healthcare, health services are available to everybody in the society. And that's what all of the policies, all of the programs should be geared towards. So these arguments are put in a document and are presented firstly to the budget office. And the budget office will go over it with the ministry, individual ministries, approve things, recommend adjustments, take out stuff. And they will put the document together. And then individual ministries will go to the cabinet. And that's where I said the cabinet members do not necessarily have to know about economics to approve or disapprove things in the budget. Because it is like everything else, is like your home, is what really makes sense and what will achieve the things that you want to achieve. And they also will probably make recommendations for change. But ultimately, they will have the final say in the budget. It is taken to the parliament after certain things are done, for example, the meeting of the finance committee and so forth. And then it is approved, it becomes law. After it becomes law, the civil service servants are responsible for implementing it. With respect to our current situation, the Minister of Finance, who presented the estimates and who will present the budget tomorrow, must take responsibility for the budget. This is what he's taken to the parliament and said, this is what my government intends to implement. It doesn't matter who prepared it, whether it was proposed or it was partially prepared by the previous government. It is his responsibility. This is what he is taking to the parliament and is expected to support it and pass it into law and give it to the civil servants to be implemented. So everything that is there, we know many of it were things that were in train, were being prepared by the previous government. But at the end of the day, in 2026, it is the NDP government, the current government, that is responsible for what is in the budget. Importantly, what was left out of the budget. And to many of us, that is what is most important. What is left out? I note that the previous government had identified financing, at least that's what they told us, and I believe it, that they had identified financing for a school in Brighton, a special school in Brighton. And when I say special, I don't mean a special needs. Mm-hmm. Even that might be required as well. I mean a school that has special characteristics, special features to meet modern day educational requirements. And as far as I know, I've not heard it mentioned that they will be continuing that project. The folks in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have to hold the government, the current government, responsible for the absence of that school. and we can identify several other things that we would like to see in the estimate that are probably in the draft estimates that they're working with that are not there. It is the government the current government, led by the Minister of Finance, who we have to hold responsible for these things. Cecil, like you, I look forward to the presentation tomorrow and subsequently the debate. Unfortunately, I might be engaged otherwise where I would not hear to my disappointment, hear the leader of the opposition's response. But I hope I will be able to find it. With respect to the distribution of the estimate, Cecil, as you may remember, the estimate is a document that is quite a few hundred pages.
Yes, it's huge.
Huge. So as Vijen suggested, other than posting it on the internet, I don't see how much you can hold the government responsible for distributing it. I know in the past, even ministries had to work with limited copies.
Mm-hmm.
And as an environmentalist, Cecil, I am sure you would agree with me that you have to avoid using up the trees in printing all of these.
I agree, yes.
To read.
Yes.
There are many things that were raised here that I could have addressed, but I think I've been on long enough.
That's all right. They have to be addressed, and whether now or later on, they have to be addressed. Yeah. It's in the public's interest.
Yeah. So have a great day, gentlemen.
You too, Lance Ferdinand. Thanks for your contribution, as usual. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Good. Interesting. And I know the culture sent us a note saying that you've been trying to call us, but culture has been the nature of things here. But you can call now, culture. There's no one on the line presently, so you can call now. In the meantime, I'm being asked to say to Mr. Stewart to remind him that Renault's quarry will supply stones for the capital work in the Grenadines, at the Canouan Airport, and the Union Island jetty. So, Mr. Stewart, where is the economic activity or activities? You would have noticed that they have changed from when you were walking there, bananas and provision and so on. The economic activities have changed, but they're no less important to our development. And as the person saying who sent the message, have been used as they were used in the construction of the modern port. They've been used for capital works in the Grenadines, the Canouan Airport, and the Union Island jetty. And I believe some of those stones from the quarry are being used in the repair at the Argyle International Airport. So, yes, and the activities have changed from banana production and whatever else you noticed in the timeline you were there many, many moons ago to now, currently. So just want to remind you of that, Mr. Stewart. Greetings. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
I agree with... Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I agree with the abandonment of the cultural hubs and concentrate on the Center for the Performing Arts, which was promised 25 years ago. I agree with the abandoning the Parliament building. I also, I think Major Leacock said that in terms of the police station.
You mean Deputy Prime Minister Sinclair Leacock? You mean the Honorable Sinclair Leacock?
Honorable Deputy
Prime Minister, all right.
Major Sinclair Leacock. He said the police stations, he abandoned the Brighton playing field. And they're going to do the police station instead.
The Brighton playing field? The Brighton playing field? Are you
Yeah.
talking about the
It's Brighton School. Brighton School.
Oh, okay.
Brighton School. Yeah.
So you say he's put in
Then put the money somewhere else.
no, but the
then
hold
the
on. Hold on. You said the police station. Which police station?
The various police stations that need to be repaired.
But they're not in the budget. They're sorry in the estimates.
Well, I don't know, but from what I heard,
Well,
the Brighton School is not going to do Brighton Place School because of the police station that need repair.
so
That's
yes,
what I
which
heard.
police station? Which of them is in the budget in the estimate for repair?
Remember the 24 police stations? The 24
No,
police
call
stations.
on.
The
Yeah,
most
but I'm
of them.
asking you. We're talking about the estimates. If you recall the article that I read earlier, I'm asking you. You're making the case, as you heard Deputy Prime Minister Leacock said. I'm asking you which of the police stations.
Well, remember there are many police stations that are in deplorable condition. He said most of them. I can't pinpoint which one. But there are many.
But you're speaking after him.
But the Stubbs and the central police station, the central
Okay.
police station and Stubbs.
All right,
I can't give you
well, I
pinpoint
tell you
each
what,
police station.
I have not checked the estimates for details, but I'll do that based on what you're saying to see which ones are in the estimates. All right, you can go
For
on.
the police station. The Marriott, I guess, I have no problem with government investing in hotels. Government of Guyana right now owns the beautiful blue building down in Georgetown, the Georgetown Marriott. And they did put it up for sale. It was bought for 52 million US. And a guy from Egypt, American-based businessman from Egypt, was going to buy it for 90 million US. But he died. So they had to put it back on the market. So I have no problem with government investing in hotels. Maybe they can't do it at this time. I hope they will be able to do it at another time. You know, I'll have no problem with I like hotel development.
But do you know that the money much of the money was earmarked, was already earmarked for that project? Was secured actually, not earmarked, but it was. Do you know that?
Yeah, but
Funding was secured.
People voted for change, so you don't have to come and adopt everything that the former government do. You don't have to. You voted for change.
Yeah, but
Otherwise,
do you
just
understand?
Leave them there and don't change them.
Yeah, but do you understand that if the money has been earmarked, you would have to go through a process. With the partners and whatever else, the source of the money, to have those things changed. You know that?
Yes, it might be worth it because that extra money has to come out to pay it back. But as I told you, overall, I have no problem with the government investing in hotels.
Well, yes,
right?
All right.
Okay, so I could leave it there for today. Bye.
All right, thanks for calling. Kojo, I know. Kojo. Well, Kojo, this time, and make sure the line is free to receive your call. I mean, I note all your WhatsApp messages and I understand. So the line is free, absolutely free this time. And it's your call will be answered next. Somebody's sharing with us here. Okay. Still waiting on you, Kojo. In the meantime, somebody's saying here, walking all by myself. Morning, guys. Okay, he's walking. I made the journey to Mesopotamia via the roundabout, VG Highway. I reached my former co-worker, Mr. Fred Simon, at 8:50 a.m. after leaving my home at 7:45 a.m. That's a good one, if you did that. I left his house at 10 a.m. and made my way through Yambo and ended up at Proven Vale, then make my way passing the Argyle Airport until I reached my home, all on my God-given feet. When did this happen? Not today. And he's saying he would be 65 years old in May. That's a good walk. It's a good walk, my friend. Keep it up. Really keep it up. That's a good walk. And encourage others to do likewise. But at least the fact that you're sharing with us this morning, and in turn, I'm reading your message, is an indication that you would like to have it shared, your experience, and that you'd like to have others do the same, if not the same, close to. All right, thanks for sharing with us this morning, my friend. And keep going. All right, so we still have some time to go, but in the meantime, I did say that, I'll leave this a bit later when we have heard from Kojo. Kojo still hasn't called us yet. But so far, an interesting discussion this morning, Pijan.
Yes, quite so.
Very rich and enlightening. Certainly from Lansford, for talking from his own knowledge and experience. And then from Dr. Cox, input from Dr. Cox. And of course, Mr. Stewart. It's not the first time, but I always, whenever we speak, Mr. Stewart and I always encourage him to have a second look, have a different look to life and living today as opposed to earlier in our lives. But I look forward for his article on in the week coming, and make sure check the papers to make sure I get to read what he's saying. But he made a very interesting point about the civil service being overstaffed, and that he would encourage, well, I have to break my thoughts to accommodate Mr. Kojo Mason. Greetings, my dear friend, and how are you doing?
Good day. I go back to the philosophy side of things. I think Richard Cox did a very excellent job of explaining it, and I think Mr. Did you tell the name again?
Mr. Weeks?
I had his name in my head. No. The older gentleman.
Oh, Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart.
Stewart.
I think he just, I think he makes sure he show you the Republican side of the philosophy of the NDP, because I think the NDP is connected to the philosophy of the Republican Party out there. Smaller government and all that kind of stuff. Because I think that's what he was preaching to you, that the government is kind of top heavy and they need to reduce the government in terms of it. He didn't plainly say fire people, but that's basically what he was saying. Because if you have too much workers in a department and you need to get rid of someone, the only how you could get rid of them, which he didn't want to admit, is fire them. He keeps saying public service union and this and that. It doesn't matter who fire any fire, do any fire, any fire.
No, he didn't say public service. He said public service commission, not union.
Well, it's about that. Yeah, okay, we're good in here.
Yes.
But I'm saying, whoever doing the firing, you're asking the government. I don't care if the government is to release people on the street of St. Vincent.
Well, hold on. He didn't say release them on the street. Let's use the language he used. He didn't say release them on the street. But he was solely speaking International Monetary Fund, IMF language.
Well, and it's a Republican language too. If you follow the Republican Party out here, they give money to corporations, big corporations, and leave the small man out. That's what's happening out here. a lot of people who support the Republican Party see it as a benefit because I don't know the benefit, but because a lot of people don't realize that half of the people even supporting the Republican Party out there, they're on welfare, they're on all kind of social services that they get money from. But then they vote against their own interests. You know, so the philosophy is what you have to deal with that. Stuart was giving you a Republican philosophy, how they like small government, how they like to make sure that the money goes to the corporation and not the small man. And so that's I want people to listen to that. The Republican Party, which is affiliated to the NDP in St. Vincent, they believe in giving the corporation money. That's why they have a office in office of businesses in
private sector.
Ministry.
Private sector.
Private sector, same difference. Same difference. Different language, the same antic. Because they believe that the corporations and the businesses is what's supposed to run government or run the economy. They don't see themselves as government making way, taking a way to employ people and people to do get ahead. Because not everybody don't fit into corporations and businesses in St. Vincent. So government have to put a part. I mean, people need to listen to those things. I think a lot of people vote popularity and hype and all kind of thing, and they don't study the philosophy of the party that they're actually supporting. And I think that is the most important thing. You have to study the philosophy of the party that you're voting for. Not just they're in the 10 years or they're in the 15 years. Those things are minute compared to the philosophy of the party that you're going to support. Always remember that.
But Kojo, I read in Renwick's column this week, he used the term now for now.
But it's the same thing.
But some people believe people believe in the now for now. People have the now for now approach to living and to government. What do you think?
Well, it's the same thing I say. I call it differently. I say it's like instant coffee. They want it right now. So they have to want upon the coffee and the coffee blue. They don't want it drip, and then it comes up to a full cup. They want the full cup like in a second. And those things could be good sometimes, but nothing comes fast, stays around. Nothing comes real fast. It's just like if you get fast cash, bam. It's all the money a lot of them folks get for what they call the bonus. You go on and check most of them, see how much of them have cash there. That's money that just come fast. They don't know what to do with it. They spend it off one time.
What do you mean they don't know how to do it? What do you mean they don't know how to do with it? Some of them spend it, so if they spend it on items, they don't know what to do with it.
Let me put things in peace. I normally get $2,000 a week month, and you give me an extra 1,000 or extra 2,000. I don't berserk.
No, you spend it. You would spend it to buy tires for your vehicle, or to repair your vehicle, won't you?
Not everybody trusts me. Not everybody trusts me. Smart people might do that, but a lot of people, they got more parties than they ever been in their life. They got the bad drinking things that they didn't drink before. I'm telling you, not everybody. As I always tell people, you give a crackhead $2,000 in his hand, he's still a crackhead. He don't make up the money.
But hold on. I hope you're not likening people onto crackheads. People who are receive benefits.
I'm just saying, your condition of spending doesn't change because you get the more money you get. If your condition of spending is bad, you just spend more money.
But some people, their condition of spending is good. I mean, and they receive the money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm not saying no. I'm just saying you give some people money. Some people can't handle money. Trust me.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. It took me a long time to handle money. Trust me.
Well,
So I know.
no, but let's admit, Kojo, that in the experience of people living in St. Vincent, people know how to manage money, man. Basically,
Yes, you might
the majority of people.
think so.
The majority of people.
Why you come out here and because you must be.
No, I ain't talking about where you are. I'm talking about where I am.
No. Listen to me. I say when you come out here to England, you see how much requests you get from St. Vincent. They don't know how much is done.
Well, it's because they know how to manage and how to use money. Why they making those requests? Why you think Vincents have such beautiful houses and driving 1 and 2 and 3 cars? Why?
I understand that. But I'm just I just wanted to call about Mr. Stewart and his Republican stand.
I realize. Well, thanks for commenting on it and enlightening that point of our discussion this morning. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good day. Yes. All right. We close to our end of program. Somebody saying, I do read it. Good day, guys. Good day, you guys. I do have one question. When Ralph, meaning I think the person you're talking about, former Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, was there for the past 24 plus years. It's person to have, I think, has he ever been on Nice Radio? I'm not sure if he was ever invited to be on Nice Radio. I can't answer that, my friend, whoever you are. I got to put that to him himself. All right, so Bijan, we're just about at the end of the program, but I just want to, as I promised, I want to play this in solidarity with Black History Month. I want to play this coming out of the United States.
Softened. Words like mob violence or acts of hate get used, but lynching was not random. It was a ritual. It was intentional. It was public terror. Black people were tortured in front of crowds. They were beaten, burned, mutilated. Their bodies were not just killed, they were desecrated. Their fingers, teeth, tongue, and body parts were taken and kept as souvenirs. Human remains placed on mantles like trophies. This is documented history. Lynching were community events. People dressed up. They brought food. They brought children. They took photographs and they turned them into postcards, mailing them to friends like keepsakes. Now, I want you to look closely at these people standing around these bodies. They are not who you've been conditioned to imagine. They're men in suits, women in dresses, children smiling. They were business owners, law enforcement, doctors, lawyers, judges, politicians, church members, respected members of society. And that's the part that matters. Because when we ask, where are they now? The truth is this: they didn't disappear. They didn't die out. They evolved. And today they sit in courtrooms handing out harsher sentences to Black people. They sit in hospitals where Black women are ignored and Black men are undertreated. They sit on police forces brutalizing Black bodies with legal protection. They sit in boardrooms writing policy. They advise administrations that roll back civil rights and protections. They sit close to power, including in the White House. The system didn't change. The methods did. So the question is not whether this threat still exists. The question is, how do we insulate ourselves? The answer is not fear. The answer is awareness and strategy. We must be in those spaces. We must become the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, the policymakers, the educators, the officers. We must own businesses, control capital, and build institutions that protect us. We must teach our children the truth, not to scare them, but to prepare them. Awareness is not paranoia. It is protection. And you cannot fight what you refuse to name, and you cannot protect what you refuse to see. They're still here, but so are we. This time, we choose power, we choose position, we choose protection. Now drop a Black fist and share this with someone who needs to hear this Black history gem.
Yeah, I thought I'd play that one. And it's just telling, and it is factual, and people might not have wanted to hear those expressions, but they happen.
And the interesting question is, where are they now?
Right.
That is the question.
And it takes me back to Baliso and what happened in 1797. The British took people there, 5,000 people. This is not guesswork or hearsay. It happened. It's so that when the previous government moved to take back Baliso, that was one way of correcting the wrong. And so we can, in answer to that question, where's Baliso now? Baliso is now back in the hands of the people. And incidentally, it's one of the items that's missing from the estimates, the payment of Baliso. And it is so important. And those are things we always have to remember and not forget. Somebody saying here, okay, interesting comment the boss is making here. When you start late, you need to make up the time. When it doesn't really always happen like they say. I appreciate your response, call, whoever you are. And it's an indication that you've been following and liking the program. Continue doing that, and I hope other people likewise. But in the meantime, Pijan, any closing
Cecil,
remarks?
I'm looking forward to the presentation of the appropriation bill tomorrow, commonly known as the budget. And I suspect we'll have much more to say about that in next week's program. Because by then the budget should have come to, the debates should have come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
So let us continue to encourage our listeners to pay attention to the appropriations bill, commonly known as the budget. And we will be back with you in a week's time to discuss it.
And then, Peter, I just want to give people the undertaking. We will try as much as we can to have somebody from the government, possibly the Prime Minister, share with us in studio on the budget and whatever else. But we cannot dictate or determine whether or not they respond positively to invitations coming from us. But I just want to say that at this time. But we'll let people know what's happening. Yeah. In the meantime, on behalf of Philbert and Karen, myself, good afternoon. Have a very pleasant day.